What is this? It's an emergency pod. We had to get out here and review the Secret Levels episode of Warhammer 40,000 on Amazon Prime Video. I'm Shane. That's Austin. We're going to kind of do a little recap of the whole thing. So spoilers are in effect. If you haven't watched it yet, go watch it. It's on Prime. Comes with your 2-day shipping and all of that stuff. There are other episodes to the Secret Levels thing with various video games. IGN doesn't like it overall very much. I don't know what their problem is these days. But I haven't watched the other ones. Have you watched the other ones?
I watched one other. I watched the Pac-Man one, and that one was certainly something.
Yeah, I have not. I've heard of it, and it seems it's surreal.
I recommend checking it out.
Yeah, they're probably. I mean, look, we're about to review something that is 20 minutes long. We will probably spend more time than that talking about it. But I guess we'll just get. I guess we'll just get right into it. What do you think? Do you have any preamble to this? Any thoughts going in?
I think one big takeaway that I have, or at least the thing that was always on my mind watching it, was I can't help but compare that episode to Astartes.
So the guy that did Astartes was involved in it.
Oh, was he really?
Yes, he is. He is in the credits.
Okay. Okay, because I could tell some of the flair was similar.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got thoughts on that because I've only seen bits of the Astartes stuff. I haven't watched all of it. It's a little, and this was too, but it's kind of a short story sort of thing, so I get it. But
yeah,
sometimes these little vignettes like this are a bit comic booky.
Oh yeah.
The comparison that everybody's making is the Love, Death, and Robots show, which is a mixed bag by design. And some of them are very, very good, and some of them are just a little bit of a, like, look what we do with 3D graphics. And it's like, well, that's okay, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
However, I think there's an angle to this that has got a bit more legs than any of that kind of thing. But let's get right into it. So I took notes as I watched it. And we're going to kind of go through, let's do scene by scene, you know? There's a podcast that I really enjoy that I recommend to everybody called Cinephobe, where these guys watch poorly rated movies on Rotten Tomatoes and try to ascertain if they are properly rated or didn't get a fair shake. And they kind of go scene by scene with their notes, which are largely jokes and making fun of the thing all the way through. So I'm going to do a bit of that here, and maybe this will be a fun way for us to review this 40K content as it comes out, because also we've got news that broke right around the release of this thing, which is that Amazon and Henry Cavill and Games Workshop are all in agreement on a way forward for their live-action 40K series. So it's not dead. It is coming. It's going to be a thing.
Don't we have egg on our face?
Don't we, though? It's almost as if we intended to put egg on our face. So the thing starts out, and what do you want to kind of give what happens? You just watched it moments ago.
Yeah. So it opens up with. I want to first preface this by saying this is a sequel story to Space Marine 2. I haven't played Space Marine 2. I played Space Marine 1. Did you play Space Marine 2?
I have not played Space Marine 2 yet.
Okay, so we're both looking at this from the mindset of we haven't played Space Marine 2. But this opens up with you see Titus, Lieutenant Titus as he's known now. You see him as a child soldier, a neophyte, I believe. I don't know if he's a neophyte yet, but he's in that stage where the Space Marine child candidates are basically doing Hunger Games situation to see who is the fittest to survive. And you see him walking across a barren landscape, surrounded with fog, hauling a big ass. Can't say that. Big chainsaw behind him, walking up to a Space Marine.
Yeah. So my first note is my Amazon app does funny things with the blacks. Do you have that happen? Because on my TV, on the Amazon app, for whatever reason, sometimes I get some big old chunky looking distortion in dark stuff, and it drives me nuts.
I don't know if I faced anything like that. I know I couldn't really tell what he was walking towards, but inferred it was a space marine.
Yeah, so I think that was inside his sort of mind palace, right? He it appeared to me that he slash the black guy that's narrating that part is it's almost like their shared memory of when he selected Titus to become
Yeah.
a space marine, because there appeared because Titus had never known fear.
Yeah.
Because he's special, and even amongst all the special, modern storytelling requires one to be more special than the rest. My next note is that Idris Elba? Which I am here for all Idris Elba. It is not, though. I looked it up. It's the guy that played Killer Croc in Suicide Squad, the first one. And I did look up his name. I got no business trying to pronounce this man's name. I think he's English by way of Africa, and I decided
he's certainly in a better media format now.
I mean, I liked that first Suicide Squad a lot, but anyway, that's who that is. Not Idris Elba, which I was a little disappointed by because I could watch Idris Elba in anything. But then we get to the call to action. There's stuff going down homes, and the Space Marines suit up and accept their mission. It appears that they are destined to die there. But they're
mortality. What was it? Mortality
absolute
assured?
or something. Yeah, that's it.
Absolute.
And they go down bravely in their drop pod, and they're dragging a box. And so my note is, what's in the box? What's in the box?
That's my favorite. The box is my favorite aspect of the story.
The box has a moment of very silliness, but we'll get to that because the next thing we run into are a bunch of Chaos cultists, and we get to see Space Marines, just like in what I understand the Astartes stuff is, we see Space Marines do Space Marine stuff.
Now, when the cultists first appeared, I wasn't quite sure initially if they were cultists or like beastmen.
I think they were cultists because they were... They looked humanoid enough in the little flashes we got. This whole thing does a very clever bit of animation, which is to just cover the thing in fog so that you don't have to worry quite so much about the backgrounds and this, that, and the other, which fits the sort of grimdark aesthetic and also makes it easier for the animators, when you're doing this many of these little shorts. But is there going to be a cultist on bike of some sort? Because they had little motorcycles that I thought were cute.
Yeah, that was interesting. I saw that and thought, well, Games Workshop probably wouldn't put something in there that they aren't planning on releasing.
Yeah,
that's a big thing. Games Workshop doesn't like putting things like in the artwork or in the media that you can't actually buy.
Right, but also I've never seen Space Marines dragging a box on the tabletop either, so who knows? But I thought it was really cool, and my Chaos Space Marine Codex has got an entire detachment just for cultists and other damned units, and there aren't that many of them, so some cultist bikers would be neat. I don't like Space Marine bikers, as is well known by our listeners, because I don't think they make any sense. But road rash style cultist bikers would be fun. But the Space Marines absolutely rinse these dudes. I mean, their guns have no effect. They're punching them to death as much as they're chopping them up and shooting them. It's unbelievable. They're so fast. They're so powerful. It's exactly what you'd expect the Space Marine to feel like from the books. Not so much from the tabletop. On the tabletop, these guys would manage a couple of wounds, right? But in the books and other lore, this is exactly what it should be. And then they bust out a tank. They've got that
was a Leman Russ Punisher.
Yeah, Trader Guardsman style, and they're shooting the Space Marines. They throw up some debris, slash their shields, and then one guy charges and we get to see the charge phase in action because there's this little buggy that the cultists are coming around the corner with, and we think, "Ooh, is he going to make it to the tank?" And he runs directly through the buggy, destroying it entirely because these dudes are serious, man. Jumps up on top, chops a guy nonchalantly, drops a grenade in, over with. Fight done.
And that was Titus that did that.
Was it Titus that did that? I kind of couldn't. I kind of couldn't keep him straight once the helmets went on.
Yeah, Titus is the one that's always gripping the chainsword like reverse style with the golden laurels and the chain around his arm.
Neat. It was great, and then they and then they blow up that tank entirely with some sort of mine or some sort of bomb. I thought that was a neat piece of kit too. And of course, they walk away from the explosion like you do, still dragging their box. Now, they then come to a new spot where all of a sudden all of their purity seals burn, and oil starts to rise from the ground.
I thought that was neat.
And was it Titus or it was one of them sees themselves in that vision again, and it causes them to stop.
I think that would be I'm going to call him a captain because I think he was a captain.
Okay.
Could be wrong. But the narrator, I think, is a captain.
Yeah.
I think that was him.
Cool. And then they come to a giant hole. And they slide down the hole, and they take the box with them. And then we get a little bit of funky architecture, and that the next thing we know, they're walking. So it's like they jumped down the hole, but the gravity's all funny. So now they're standing up, and then we cut. And what happened on the next cut?
We end up in blackness, and we hear commotion of combat going on, and our vision is illuminated with the blood of slain Zangors as the Space Marines chop them up.
Yes. Okay. So my note here is Tzeentch demon basing ideas unlocked. So these Zangors bleed glowing blue, and it's incredible. And they kind of come at them wave after wave, and they're using their plasma pistol, and they're just blowing them away one after another. But because they're just throwing themselves at Space Marines, they're getting covered in this blue goo, and it's glowing, and it's incredible. And I'm like, well, now I gotta, if ever I do Zangors, they're gonna just be on some glowy blue basing stuff,
Mm-hmm.
/ all the Tzeentch stuff. It looked incredible. And, they did that for a little bit, and then they continued down the void, all traipsing through with their glowing blue footprints. It was lovely.
It's a very striking image, seeing all that fluorescent blue.
Yeah, it was good. I liked kind of the mix. Is like we got some Tzeentch action, we got some chaos action, with cultists and whatnot.
Cultists were Tzeentch.
Yeah, I suppose they were too.
Yeah, because they had bird masks.
Oh, did they? I missed that part.
Yeah, they had like feathers and like bird skull masks and all that.
And then we continue on, and we get to a just monolithic area with sculptures and structures, and the main thing there is a Keeper of Secrets statue that they mean to destroy. And
is that a statue or a petrified Keeper of Secrets? I wasn't quite sure what that was.
Lord of Change, not Keeper of Secrets.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not sure, because it appeared to, they're shooting it and stuff, and it seemed like it wanted to crumble. I don't know if petrified demons or sleeping demons is a thing or not. Also, it seemed large, like real big. That's not how the scale on the tabletop works. Like,
They could be as big as they want, I imagine.
yeah, I don't know. I mean,
Within reason.
it's like, I mean, we probably should have seen if we could get Casey on the call, because something I am unclear on myself is, like, you've got Tzeentch, the actual god of the chaos god. That is not the Lord of Change or whatever the named demon above that is. Like, those are just his lieutenants and whatnot, right?
Yeah, they're like greater essences of him. All the demons are basically little slivers of the god.
Yeah. So it's like there. You would think surely there's got to be some kind of limit to the demon itself, even amongst the other demons. But I mean, this thing is absolutely monolithic. And then this is the goofy part: is they open up the box. What's in the box? It's a psyker in the box, which I'm like, hold up. So this dude has been laying down in this box, getting drug across the ground. That part I'm fine with. But remember when they jumped down the hole? This dude has been jostled. But he hops up and he makes a little psychic barrier to try to protect them against this pretty immediate onslaught of warp juju that comes at them as soon as they start attacking this monolith.
He kneels and does the little prayers. This kind of stuff, I love the weird little esoteric, kind of like religious stuff with the Imperium. So this just tickled me seeing this kind of stuff.
I mean, I just loved that he was in a box, like laid down in a box, getting drugged by a chain. Made no sense at all, but I'm here for it. It was silly, but it totally fits the entire thing. Deployable psyker is funny to me. But he doesn't last long. Nearly immediately, from high up above the monolith, the statue, the whatever it is, something opens and down floats what looked to me like a Keeper of Secrets, which of course is a Slaanesh demon, and I guess it could be.
That's a Chaos Sorcerer.
Really? Just a heavily mutated Chaos Sorcerer?
It was a Chaos Sorcerer of Tzeentch.
Okay. So he flies down on some bone wings, and does he spear the Psyker? Someone kills the Psyker.
I don't know if it was a he or a she. I couldn't really tell.
Yeah. Well, so however happens, the Psyker is killed, and then the Space Marines have a problem. A big problem. The Psyker, the Sorcerer, freezes time, which I remember what was that called in 9th edition when we had a psychic phase?
I have no idea.
I can't remember. But he freezes time, and now the Marines are wholly defenseless. And he walks over to one. He opens his face to show a giant eye. He goes inside of the guy's mind palace and melts him. And then we come back, and inside this mind palace thing, everything's made of the same rising ooze that we saw before they even got into this temple. And we cut back to reality, and the dude falls over dead, dripping from his power armor. And I'm like, well, that's metal.
Yeah, it's like sorry, I'm going to sound stupid trying to interpret these, but it was kind of like using their own fear against them.
Right, 100%. He was doing the Scarecrow from Batman. But
like that guy like smashed his own head in his own vision, and then that caused his own head to be smashed in.
Yeah, because it was the oh gosh, it was the if you die in your dream, you die in real life.
Yeah.
Was that Freddy Krueger?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's doing the Freddy Krueger. He's doing the Mind Palace thing. He goes on to the next guy. What happened to the next guy? He stabbed himself, right?
either one stabbed himself or one slit their own throat.
Yeah, because at some point
like
we get to the captain. I think he gets stabbed, and so he ends up surviving. The other two are dead on the spot. But then he comes to Titus, and he gets inside of Titus's head, and he intends to control his fear, and he finds that Titus has none.
The void looks back.
That's right. Titus then headbutts him and kills him.
And slices them vertically in half.
Yeah. Titus not
More
playing.
blue blood.
More blue blood. At that point, they radio in that for an orbital strike, and they get out of there. Titus carries out the captain, who is he seems ready to die.
Yeah.
And then Titus is like, no, not yet. And here we see coming over the hill a horde of cultists, apparently ready to exact revenge upon these Space Marines. And we get more narration about how, what could somebody like this do? Somebody that has never known fear, as Titus sticks his helmet on to go and handle business. And then we assume that Titus chops those dudes to death and takes his homie back to the ship.
Then we get Space Marine 3.
Then we get Space Marine 3, where Titus is more of the Super Chad that we know and love. So what'd you think about it overall?
I thought it was okay.
I thought it was good. I thought it was a very fine visual representation of everything we'd expect from 40K. I did have one more note. So I called that Sorcerer a Keeper of Secrets because that's what it looked like to me. But I put Keeper of Secrets makes sense for power level. Meaning, we saw how it almost would never matter how many cultists you threw at these dudes. They were going to be fine. And then we saw how the Zangors, over time would have overpowered them if you just had limitless numbers. And then we saw like a proper serious threat, just like on the tabletop, where my 5 Space Marines are chopping 10 of your regular dudes up every single time. But that greater demon of whoever is a problem. And I thought that was neat. Like they're not totally indestructible.
Yeah.
I
don't know. I think the presentation of it wasn't really my taste for like 40K material.
So, I've seen a lot of discourse around the new Amazon show and people not wanting it to have Space Marines in it. Are you on that? Are you in that camp or what?
No, I think there was it was too silent. What's my thing? When I'm thinking of Space Marines, I think more like Space Marines running around doing the stuff, but then also like screaming at the same time and like yelling catchphrases and other material. Like for the Emperor and die and whatever else. I like that more.
Yeah, you like them to have more fun with it.
I like the more, like, I guess, like the Dawn of War like intro.
Yeah, I thought it was good. I would like to see. Honestly, rather than a live action series, this sort of hyper realistic 3D animation, I think, is the move. And I don't know who we're fooling these days with saying we're going to do a live action show and we're going to make sets and we're going to use practical effects. I love that for anything based in reality. This bleep right here is totally silly. It is Voltron, right? It is Gundam stuff. Forget it. Just forget it. Like, every battlefield these guys are going to be on is going to be a desolate wasteland, or you're going to be up on one of these ships with this just impossibly gigantic Gothic architecture. Like, do it like this. You remember back in the day when we had those couple of Final Fantasy movies?
No.
So this was, this is probably before you were born. These, I believe, were late 90s, early 2000s. There were some, one was called, was it? There were some Final Fantasy movies, and they didn't have much, I don't think at all, to do with the game, but they were fully 3D animated movies that were meant to look like live action. Now, they didn't, because this is before we had, don't get me lying on what's what for 3D lighting technology, but everybody looked like a plastic mannequin.
Mm-hmm.
It was still good, but we're to a point now that this stuff doesn't look like plastic mannequins. Like, I'd be happy if in Henry Cavill's show, if you had yada yada live action people talking, etc., and then once the helmets go on, switch to this, or just make the whole thing this. Do it like Avatar. I loved the way that the visuals matched the absurdity of the lore. These Space Marines are so big, yet so fast. You know?
How they could do it live action. CGI would obviously be done for a lot of the action stuff, but I was looking at what they've done for the Fallout series with the Brotherhood of Steel power suits. I think something like that could be done. You could replicate something like that for 40K. It could possibly work.
Yeah, I just think that I don't want to see a show where I hate when there's a new IP that's going to get a show, right? Especially a video game kind of thing. And they're like, okay, but what we're going to do is not the thing on the box because we either don't feel like we can or we want to tell a different kind of story, yada, yada, yada. It's like, well, then why are you using that IP? Because I don't want to see Krieg Guardsmen in a trench for 8 to 12 episodes of that when it's supposed to be a 40K thing. That is a World War I story, which is fine, but just tell that. Because once you put 40K on it, I myself want to see these big blue dudes in power armor. And, call me a simpleton, but even like Star Wars, I want to see some damn lightsabers. Like, everybody's, Andor's so good. I don't care. I don't want it. I can get nuanced drama anywhere. What I come to these things for is what's on the tin. And I think that this, while it is a very small vignette and is a short story, and I could have used a whole lot more, look, this would have been great as a 2-hour movie with actual character development and stuff going on and people talking and, various things like that. And at no point would anyone have given a damn that it was animated. You know what I'm saying? Because the faces look incredible, the environments look incredible, the voice acting's incredible, the action's incredible. Like, it's just as easy to animate people sitting around talking as it is them fighting. In fact, easier. And I don't think the drama suffers one bit from that sort of thing. And to me, this is the way you do it. Like, don't overthink it.
I'd like to see live action attempted because we've only gotten live action 40K a couple times before. And to me, this kind of feels almost too similar to a lot of the animations GW's already doing for 40K, like the Angels of Death, the Blood Angels series, and something else. What's it called? The one with the had Necrons in it.
I haven't seen any of those, but
if it felt like it was kind of in that same ballpark. But I'd like to see them try to do live action 40K just to get it over with.
Yeah, no, I'm with it. I think the problem with a lot of this stuff that we've had, especially animated 40K, is it's always just the action, and it's always very light on the sort of dialogue, story, etc. It's just here's Space Marines doing cool stuff, which is not enough to sustain a narrative of really any kind, beyond a 15-minute episode of something. But I don't like, for instance, me and the wife have been watching. She's never seen it, but I've been rewatching. She's watching Clone Wars, and there are so many episodes of Star Wars Clone Wars that they just sit around and talk. The Jedi Council sits around and talks. They stand around and talk. They pop over here and pop over there and ask questions, and it's just a TV show, a drama, and they're some of the best episodes of the entire thing. And then at the same time, you get lightsaber battles and all this, that, and the other in other episodes, but there are plenty of them that are absolute 10 out of 10 episodes of just people standing around talking. Star Trek is great, and many of its best episodes are people sitting around talking. There's no reason you can't take this sort of animation style and have both, because I think the issue that filmmakers are going to run into is it's very hard to have both, or they need to write the show in such a way that they never have the sort of playing with your action figures action scene moments of Space Marines that make any sense. Looking at you, Halo series. And if you don't have that, then it's like, well, what are we doing? Like, this could be any old thing. But let's wrap it up. What do you rate it? Let's say out of 10 skulls for the Skull Throne. This episode of Secret Levels.
I want to say 8 out of 10.
Yeah, that's where I am. I'm 8 out of 10 as well, because
since you asked me, I'll give mine first. I feel like this is a good initiatory jump into 40K in a media that is not like Games Workshop owned. This is its first outing outside of Games Workshop on Amazon. I feel like overall, this is like a pretty good first step way to do it.
Yeah, what would you have done if one of the party was named Stephanie?
I guess I just wouldn't care. I don't care that there's Space Marines, but I just mean I'm just kind of like, oh well, I don't really care too much.
Because that to me, so I've watched the 3 episodes that are out of Star Wars Skeleton Crew, which I'm quite enjoying. And is it the greatest show in the world? Absolutely not. Is it the best Star Wars show that's ever been? Absolutely not. But I'm just happy that this one, Skeleton Crew, doesn't do anything to actively attempt to offend my sensibilities, right? It doesn't. It's not like, hey, we've got a thing that is a hot button social issue right here in front. They've not done any of that, and I'm like, thank you, because you can have that. But when it appears to be the whole reason for the things being, I find that obnoxious. And I was glad that this was pretty well by the numbers 40K, the way you expected.
It wasn't offensive at all. This was just basic bones 40K. That's core.
Yeah, and hopefully that's an indication of what we're going to get on the Amazon show. It's just like, I feel like we're in an era of television making where people try to get a little too cute too often. Everybody wants to make a story where they subvert expectations, where at the end of the thing, the hero wasn't actually the hero. They were just dealing with their trauma or some other crap, right? And it's like, what if the thing is just what you expect? Can we have that?
I don't know. I like Joker too.
Oh, you're that guy. Well, anyway, that's been Austin. I'm Shane. We liked it. And we'll be back with more random episodes reviewing the various media things that come out with 40K, because at 40K Fanatics Podcast, we got to
A fanatical.
see ya.